Hello my friends, Boomy here once again with another video for you, my gaming brothers and sisters. Hope everyone is doing great. Friends, there's an article that came out of PC Gamer a little bit ago, but I think what this article does, and we're going to get into it, don't worry, it really paints the picture of two different families underneath the same roof over there at BioWare. It might explain a little bit as to one of the many reasons Dragon Age the Veilguard just failed miserably after a 10-year stint of troubles and all that jazz, and how Dragon Age is pretty much in a sunset mood. Yeah, you know, I've already covered the Veilguard on this channel, so we're not going to dig too deep into it. I mean, right now, as you can see, there's only 1,190 people playing this game. It's a Dragon Age game. The number should be a lot higher. It only peaked at 89,000, which is not horrible, but this is also a AAA Dragon Age game. It should have at least a 1.189 in front of it, right? But let's get into the article and see what they have to say and why I think the future for Mass Effect is actually a bright one. Now here we go. Here's the article on the PC Gamer by Harvey Randall. EA always preferred Mass Effect straight up. Dragon Age creator reveals that his and Mass Effect's team did not get along at BioWare as EA played favorites with its children. I mean, everyone's gonna have a favorite child. Now this article is talking about and with David Gator, who is famous at BioWare and especially in the Dragon Age community. It says, "It sure seems like the sun is setting on Dragon Age, with Veilguard falling short of expectation after years in development. EA seemingly learning exactly the wrong lessons and sweeping layoffs, including senior talent. I'm not holding my breath for the future. In my view, Veilguard was a semi-decent action RPG with a fumbled story, which just wasn't enough." I think that's putting it lightly. It was a story written for the imaginary modern audience that doesn't really exist, and the activists took over, and these activists are the ones who don't actually play these games. They don't play the games. They don't care about the foundations of what a Dragon Age is. They don't care about that. All they care about is getting across their message and ruining our games, which is what happened with Veilguard, which is horrible. The art was bad, the story was horrible. It's just bad. Let's continue. It continues in the article. David Gator, who authored the series but left BioWare in 2016 after Dragon Age Inquisition, has revealed two truths. The first, not so shocking one, is that EA didn't really know what to do with Dragon Age, something you could glean from context. The second, more shocking one, is that BioWare was completely split down the middle circa 2010 to 2016, divided into two studios. Studios that, according to him, kind of resented each other. In a Blue Sky post that doesn't get much traffic at all because Blue Sky is a horrible social media place, Gator explains that after Dragon Age Inquisition left him feeling exhausted, he joined the new project that the former Mass Effect team in Edmonton was cooking up, the one that became Anthem. That was a mistake, not Anthem, but rather going from Dragon Age to a Mass Effect team at BioWare. Can we just talk about Anthem real quick? I know I belabor Anthem because talk about a game that was a shell and a ghost of itself. Talk about a game that BioWare just fumbled up, which honestly, if they had done the correct thing and taken their time and didn't get little stupid spats with each other, which we're starting to see why those spats might have happened, I honestly believe Anthem would have done gangbusters. I mean, it got awards in the very beginning. But then when we all started playing, and I still pop in from time to time to say hello. The servers are still going. The Reddit is still moving. But if they had just done their due diligence and just made a great game and made the game that Anthem should have been, dude, this thing would still be getting content to this day. He says, quote, "The thing you need to know about BioWare is that for a long time, it was basically two teams under one roof, the Dragon Age team and the Mass Effect team. Run differently, with very different cultures. May as well have been two separate studios, and they didn't get along." And this is what I'm kind of talking about, where I see a bright light for Mass Effect. I am very happy that the cultures are completely different. I am so happy about that. And in the lead for Mass Effect 5, with the new one they're working on, pretty much kind of said the same thing. It's pretty much saying that, yeah, we are not anything like that team at all. Don't worry, we got this. To me, I'm like, oh, thank God. Please don't please don't go modern audience on Mass Effect, because if you do that, BioWare will completely shut down. He continues, the company was aware of the friction and attempts to fix it had been ongoing for years, mainly by shuffling staff between the teams more often. Yet this didn't really solve things, and it wouldn't solve things. If you have two teams who don't like each other, it's not going to solve things by putting, that's just, no. And he continues, and I had no idea until I got to the Anthem team. He adds, the team didn't want me there at all. The difference, Gator explains, seems to me almost high school in nature. Like BioWare had its own coterie of nerds and jocks, Montagues and Capulets, Jets and Sharks. You get the idea. He explains that Anthem had initially been conceptualized as grungy, alien-esque science fiction, and that he'd been given marching orders to turn it into a science fantasy romp. This met the existing team like oil on water. He says, and I quote, I don't think anyone told the team this, so they thought this change was my doing. I kept getting feedback about how it was too Dragon Age and how everything I wrote or planned was too Dragon Age. Yet this was a team where I was required to accept and act on all feedback, so I ended up iterating constantly. Which I don't like that idea when it comes to management and stuff like that. I think it's fine to get feedback from everyone, but you don't need to act on every single piece of feedback. If something a developer or someone on your team is suggesting that actually fits to what, the broader scheme of this is supposed to be, then act on it and say, okay, see what we can do to bring this into the game and how that's going to work. But if they're coming up with ideas that just do not stick and have nothing to do with the game, you don't need to, it doesn't need to be every voice matters. It does to an extent, but people have to grow up and learn that sometimes your ideas just aren't good ones. He continues, he says that it became clear this was a team that didn't want to make an RPG. Yet they wanted me to wave my magic writing wand and create a BioWare quality story without giving me any of the tools I'd need to actually do that. The writer says, this illuminates some of Gator's prior words about BioWare's shifting team culture. Back in 2023, he wrote that the studio had come to quietly resent writers, arriving in a new team only to be forced to accept and act on all feedback, be given orders contrary to their vision, and then made to be fall guy for those orders. Sure sounds like a quiet resentment to me. Gator did consider a world where he'd stick it out and try my best, but only if there was something waiting on the other side, where I could have more say as creative director. I wanted to move up. I was turned down flat, no hesitation. Even more when I was told that while I could leave the company if I wanted to, I wouldn't have any success outside of BioWare. But in blunter words, yikes. Okay, that right there is kind of douche canoey. That is kind of scummy. And they use those tactics to make sure that you don't go anywhere. Because usually when a management or higher up or execs or your boss or whatnot use that type of verbiage with you, they know that you have talent. But they're doing it so you can't leave, or at least you believe you can't leave, so you don't leave. Where in reality, you can leave and be successful doing something completely different. So don't believe that crap when they tell you that. In a quote to a reply, Gator theorizes that this disdain for Dragon Age wasn't just siloed into Mass Effect, but a general distaste from EA on high. He says, and I quote, while I was at BioWare, EA's always preferred Mass Effect, straight up. Their marketing team liked it more. It was modern, it had action, they never quite knew what to do with Dragon Age. And whenever Dragon Age outperformed Mass Effect got the excuses. If you ask me, it was always just shy of the axe since Dragon Age Origins. Now, this is to be taken with a bit of grain of salt, as the writer says. Gator is a fantastic writer known for authoring one of the game's best RPG worlds, but he was also severely burned by EA and BioWare, so there's some understandable subjectivity surrounding his words here. However, this description here does pass muster, namely, if writing teams were made to act on feedback no matter what, in a studio leaning towards Mass Effect and away from its gritty RPG roots, that sure explains why a group of people who have done great work on Dragon Age in the past somehow produced something I actively couldn't stand. It sure explains why Veilguard plays more like a Mass Effect game too. He concludes, EA very much hasn't given me faith that it even understands why things didn't shake out. In the aftermath of Veilguard's lukewarm reception, CEO Andrew Wilson pretty much chalked its failure up to a lack of live service features. Talk about not reading the room. Dear God, People were excited for Dragon Age Veilguard. They were like, I mean, I'm not even a big DA fan, and I was excited for it because I'm like, oh my god, the Dragon Age is finally releasing something brand new. It's been a while. Let's go. Let's see what this is all about. And then we got the drop. Then we got the cinematic trailer, right? The teaser. They're going to be like gangbusters for it, and people are like, the hell is this? This is freaking Fortnite? Why do they look like this? It lost its grit. It lost everything that made Dragon Age awesome. And then it got even worse when leaked videos of the characters' interactions with each other and some of the very woke and just modern audience millennial writing crap that we had to watch and endure came out. And everyone kind of just went, oh God, why? And then, you know, but hey, it's okay. It's because it's live action, the live services wasn't a thing. That is the dumbest thing in the world. Believe me, live service stuff for this game would not have saved it no matter what. He continues, which is so laughably, indescribably far from any of the criticisms I had for Veilguard. That is not even funny. If executives just listen to the people who are responsible for their successes, well, we'd live in a very different world, I suppose. Maybe Larian was right, and we should adopt the pirate model after all. So there we have it, my friends. I mean, I think what it does to me is it does paint that picture of why games have been failing over there at BioWare. It kind of, the nature of the modern business within the last 10 or so odd years, or the business model rather, has really changed, especially in the gaming industry. When back in the day it was like, this is what's on the whiteboard, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna have some ideas, cool, that works, that doesn't work, whatever, let's go, let's make a freaking game that's fun with great story. And yes, there might be waifus in it and space Barbies, but F you, this is what the people want. That's how it was. And then about 10 years ago, everything changed around the world when all the activists got their panties in a bunch and everything had to be different. And we kind of see that going along. But I kind of like the idea that there were and are two different cultures. Well, now really one, because yeah, the only game that BioWare is working on is Mass Effect right now. And yeah, we're still just sitting here kind of wondering what's going to happen with Mass Effect. We don't know everything. I mean, this thing is very early stages right now, and they don't have a giant team for it. They'll start building on later. But I like the idea that the Mass Effect team is like distancing themselves like crazy from the Veilguard team. Like, we don't know who those woke weirdos are. Nope, not at all. Shepard's gonna be here nailing this one chick. It's gonna be fine, guys. It's gonna be fine. They better bring Shepard back. I mean, that's the only reason I think, outside of a couple other things, that Andromeda did not do well. And I liked Andromeda. It wasn't Shepard, and we want Shepard. That's what we want, people. But we don't want woke, rainbow-haired, septum-pierced Shepard. We don't want that. Not at all. But put the options in there for people to do that. They want their character to look like that, but don't make it default, is what I'm saying. So here we are. A house divided and one part has fallen, and hopefully my beard is crossed that BioWare has learned their lessons. I mean, yeah, these people like to dig their heels in, but hopefully BioWare is learning a lesson. EA is learning the lesson. It's like, okay, if Mass Effect was the one you rooted for the most, this is the last shot, honestly, I believe, for BioWare ever. There's no other games they're working on, at least that we're aware of, but even if there were, there's not enough people to work on said games because they've either been laid off or shuffled to other studios underneath EA's umbrella. So hopefully EA's favorite child will do an amazing job, and I'm looking forward to see what they have. Friends, put your comments in the comment section below. Let's keep the conversation going on down there. What are your thoughts on all this? Do you agree with the article? What do you think about what David said? Does it make sense to you? Are there other things that are worrying to you about Mass Effect, or what do you want to see with Mass Effect besides Shepard coming back, obviously? Let me know in the comment section below. Make sure you hit that like button, the bell notification button, and that share button, my friends. It truly does help the channel out quite a bit. And hey, do you want to have early release of videos? Do you want to have a monthly podcast? My friends, become a member to the channel. It really helps us out quite a bit. Either way, my friends, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, become part of the family here at Boomy Nation, the Freak Show YouTube, the black sheep of gaming. And as always, my friends, learn to be kind. It's about community, and don't forget to spay and neuter your shepherds. We'll see you later, my friend. Good day. Simply the best. Epic tales on every shore.
hit that button, ask for more.